The KREM 2 Verify team has been busy at work answering your questions.
Is it true that natural gas is banned in Washington state?
From issues that impact how you heat your home or how you can recover from serious damages.
Fire's fire. As soon as the water's stopped and it's stabilized, call the insurance company.
To how you even make a living.
If your price is set too high on what the wheat's going to be, what you're willing to sell your wheat for, then nobody will buy it.
In this KREM 2 Verify special, we examine the biggest issues impacting your wallet.
So we thought it made sense in this instance to go to folks most impacted. In other words, folks who economically are struggling a bit more.
Hello and thank you for joining us for this KREM 2 Verify special. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Our mission with Verify is simple: separate fact from fiction. With so much misinformation, we work to make our viewers more responsible news consumers, and that includes answering your many questions. In the last several months, we've received several emails from viewers about checks you received in the mail from the state's Attorney General's office. The money comes from lawsuits filed by the state against chicken and tuna producers for price fixing. But viewers want to know if the checks are real and why only some Washingtonians received one. Let's verify.
Those checks led to a lot of emails to our Verify team, including from one viewer who wrote, "Received a $120 check from the Attorney General of Washington that I paid more for chicken and canned tuna, saying, my office filed lawsuits against more than 20 corporations." Another viewer wrote, "How'd they know me? The check is made out to my husband and he never shops, nor does he use a debit card or write a check. Your help will be appreciated." And finally, another viewer asks, "I need to know if they're really sending out these checks. She is very low income and I don't want her to cash it if it's not real." So we took those questions to the man whose name is at the top of the checks.
We keep getting emails from people who've received one and they're asking us, are these real?
So I have good news for your viewers. The answer to that question is yes, they're absolutely real.
So now that we know the checks are real, where's the money coming from? Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson said the money's the result of lawsuits his office filed against several chicken and tuna producers. He successfully argued those major companies engaged in price fixing in order to charge more for their products.
They got together and said, let's not engage in competition where prices go down and we make less money. Let's get together, inflate prices, and keep them there and get rid of the competition. Well, guess what? That's illegal.
As a result of the judgment, Ferguson announced that he was returning roughly $40 million back to Washingtonians. But not every resident received money. Instead, the refunds were sent to Washington households whose income is 175% of the poverty line. Qualifying individuals were mailed $50. Qualifying households with more than one person were sent $120.
So we thought it made sense in this instance to go to folks most impacted. In other words, folks who economically are struggling a bit more, and send those 400,000 households, about 1.2 million Washingtonians, send those 1.2 million Washingtonians a check for either $50 or $120.
So we can verify the checks from the Washington Attorney General are real. The money comes from price-fixing lawsuits filed by the state against several major tuna and chicken producers.
And Ferguson says the legal action is not over. A suit against the 3 remaining companies is scheduled for October. And in our effort to bring you more to every story, we also asked the AG what you should do if you receive a check that's made out to someone else or someone who has passed away. What should people do with those checks?
Well, obviously, you cannot cash a check that's not in your name. We had, I think, a little under 200 instances where folks received checks in the name of someone who'd passed away. No system is perfect when you're mailing out 400,000 checks. So if you receive a check like that and you know it's someone who's deceased, just tear it up. That's all you need to do. If you don't mind.
Finally, if you received a check but lost it or tossed it out because you didn't think it was real, you can reach out to the AG's office to fill out your claim. You can find that information on our website. Just head to KREM.com. And if you paid attention at checkout recently, you probably noticed there are more options when it comes to getting receipts. Printed, emailed, or you can even skip it altogether. And it was that final choice that led Carl to reach out to our Verify team. We went back to the state Attorney General. This gentleman says he selected no receipt, but he then later wanted to return an item and he wasn't able to because he didn't have a receipt. I'm curious, where does Washington law stand when it comes to situations like that?
Yeah, so first, I always have to be a little careful because when it comes to law, we have to keep it a relatively general. Specific facts can change things, number one. Number two, in general, stores do have a lot of flexibility on what their return policies are. They can even say, hey, you've got to have the original packaging, for example, or you have to have a receipt. In general, that is true.
The Washington State Attorney General's website makes it clear, apart from a few specific cases such as telemarketing or door-to-door sales, quote, no law requires sellers to accept items for refund, exchange, or credit unless merchandise is defective or misrepresented. That's why Attorney General Bob Ferguson says it is important to do some research before you make a big purchase.
So we always encourage folks to do some work up front to find out what the return policy is.
And while a receipt is no guarantee when it comes to making a return,
getting a receipt is certainly something that I do, and I would encourage consumers to do as well, just as a backup, just in case.
So we can verify, yes, a store may be able to refuse some returns without a receipt, but it needs to make that clear in its return policy. So what can you do if you want to make a return but don't have a receipt?
I would encourage the individual, if they used a credit card, they could maybe show their credit card as well, it's not a receipt, evidence of the purchase, and to give it a try. Because look, most stores, I think, want to work with their customers, right? They don't want to have a reputation of being inflexible.
And if you are still having trouble with the return, you can reach out to the state's consumer protection team. Both Washington and Idaho have these units which help return millions of dollars to consumers each year. We have those contact details along with more tips to protect yourself on our website. Just head to krem.com/verify. And if you're one of the many people who bought your friends or family a gift card this past holiday season, you may have noticed an unfamiliar tax on that purchase. That led one viewer to reach out to the KREM 2 Verify team.
When does a gift card have to pay sales tax? Because I bought a Roblox card for my grandson. I don't recall paying sales tax on gift cards in stores.
After buying the gift card for Christmas, Mike Britton noticed a $4.05 tax collected on the purchase. According to Washington State Department of Revenue, general gift cards are not subject to sales tax at the time of purchase since the card is not for a specific item or service. Taxes would only be collected when the gift card is used. In Mike's case, he purchased a gift card for Roblox, an online video game, so it falls under a unique Washington state law. The Department of Revenue tells us, quote, sellers would collect the sales tax, for instance, sales of access to online games or items within the game that are subject to sales tax, unquote. Amazon determines the sales tax based on the state laws where the purchase was made. So generally, gift cards are not taxed at the time of purchase, but gift cards for in-app purchases or in-game currency are taxed when you buy them. We have a lot more questions to verify still ahead tonight, whether it's damage from wildfires or water damage from burst pipes. In 2 minutes, we verify what's covered under your homeowner's insurance.
Oh yeah, and it's unfortunate. I'm disappointed.
And a bit later, how a law meant to save the environment may be hurting local farmers. We look at the impacts of Washington's Climate Commitment Act. Whether it was water damage from burst pipes or the damage left behind following a destructive wildfire, many of you have reached out to the KREM 2 Verify team asking what is covered under homeowners insurance policies. And to verify these questions, we went to the Washington State Office of the Insurance Commissioner. First, here's what I found is covered for wildfire damage.
In mid-August, 2 wildfires broke out, destroying hundreds of buildings, many of them primary homes, and damaging even more. Residents are still working to recover from the devastation. Several viewers have reached out to ask if homeowners insurance covers any damage from wildfires. To verify this question, we went to the nonprofit Northwest Insurance Council and David Fort, the senior policy advisor with the Office of Insurance Commissioner for Washington State. According to Fort, in Washington, wildfires are treated the same as any other type of fire that a homeowner may experience, like a kitchen or electrical fire. But what if the wildfire is human-caused or caused by lightning? Fort says there's no difference.
Fire's fire. But the thing with wildfire is that it's always covered under any homeowner's policy.
Landscaping is also covered under your homeowner's insurance. This includes any trees, plants, shrubs, or lawns that may have been destroyed. That, according to the Northwest Insurance Council. And if you're forced to evacuate your home, the NWIC says any additional living expenses are covered. They recommend keeping records of your expenses. So we can verify, yes, damaged or destroyed homes from wildfires are covered under standard homeowners insurance, even if the wildfire is human-caused. A week after those fires started, the state insurance commissioner issued an emergency order that would require all insurers to provide additional protections for policyholders.
And that was really his design to just provide folks under a lot of stress and pressure and events time to get their insurance in order.
Meanwhile, Fort says debris removal is the first roadblock homeowners face that could cause delays in receiving coverage.
And insurance companies need to realize that testing for asbestos has to happen, and that is a covered cost. So we want insureds and insurance companies working together there.
One final tip, Fort says homeowners should be communicating with their insurance companies and save all records so they have something to refer to as rebuilding continues.
If you run into any problems, Fort says to contact the Office of the Insurance Commissioner, and you can find that information on our website. Just head over to KREM.com. Well, burst pipes, many people living in the inland Northwest have had to deal with them. Repairs and cleanup from the water damage can be very costly, so who has to pay for it? Let's verify. To get the answer, we went again to David Fort with the Washington State Office of the Insurance Commissioner. According to Fort, coverage from a sudden burst pipe could include pipe repairs, fixing any damage to your walls, drying out your carpets, and even temporary housing if the damage is bad enough. Fort suggests when the water has stopped and is stabilized, call your insurance company and have them look at all the repairs. He urges you to not start any repairs until your insurance company can take a look at the damage. And if you wait too long, Fort says, you may be on the hook for the bill.
If you uncover damage weeks, months, years later, and that damage, that small leak, seepage, is causing mold or dry rot, it is not going to be covered under your property policy. Property policies don't cover this type of slow over time damage.
So we can verify, yes, homeowners insurance will cover burst pipes, but only if the damage is reported as soon as possible. We have more tips about how to deal with water damage on our website, including what you should document and what you need to know if you're a renter. Just head to krem.com/verify for that information. All right, still ahead, a new bill in Olympia is causing some confusion for natural gas customers.
I heard that the natural gas was banned or outlawed in Washington State.
After the break, we verify if there is a natural gas ban and how it could impact future customers. Before that, though, we are tracking the impacts of the Climate Commitment Act and what it's having on local farmers.
Why are we making it more burdensome on farmers by adding these unnecessary burdens?
That is Brian Bauman. His family has been farming the land outside of Washtenaw for more than 100 years. It is a challenging line of work that he says has become more difficult since the Climate Commitment Act went into effect. Our Verify team has been covering the impacts of the CCA for more than a year now. I went to Brian's farm to learn more.
The longer that I live on the farm and be able to actually work the ground, the more I realize how important legacy is to me.
That legacy dates back to 1918, when Brian Bauman's great-grandfather put down roots on this plot of land roughly 12 miles outside of Washtenaw. His family grows soft white winter wheat on roughly 4,000 acres. From here, it's taken to port and sold on the global market.
If your price is set too high on what the wheat's going to be, what you're willing to sell your wheat for, then nobody will buy it. They don't have to buy it if they don't want to.
It's a high-volume, low-margin business. Any added production costs cut into the bottom line. That includes the price of fuel. Bauman says the state's Climate Commitment Act has noticeably driven up diesel prices for him and other farmers in Washington.
Oh yeah, and it's unfortunate. I'm disappointed, really.
The law took effect in January of last year with the goal of substantially cutting the state's greenhouse gas emissions. Governor Jay Inslee touted the law during his stop in Spokane.
This law is working. It's working in Spokane County. It's saving lives. It's giving our kids cleaner air.
The law has quickly generated a lot of money, nearly $2 billion in the first year. It's also driven up prices at the pump, something the Department of Ecology admitted when we talked to them in November.
We have estimated that we think the impact could be around 25 cents a gallon, maybe 27 cents a gallon.
Others, including the Washington Policy Center, put the increase closer to 40 to 45 cents per gallon. And even though the law dictates that certain industries like agriculture are supposed to be exempt from fuel surcharges, Bauman says, just like everyone else, he too is paying more for fuel.
But in terms of costs, like fuel costs for you, it's been noticeable, a noticeable increase?
Oh yeah. When you tack on 45 cents on a 9,000 gallon load, that it adds up. It adds up a lot.
It's why the Washington Farm Bureau is trying to get the state legislature to act, recently writing, the exemption for both on-farm and on-highway fuel used for agriculture purposes from the carbon price under the CCA has not been honored. Damages are likely hundreds of millions of dollars and counting.
Every Washington resident that buys groceries is experiencing that hit, because the exemption isn't just for agriculture, it's for the transportation of egg products. Now, all the logistics endpoints within there, they are able to pass on that added cost, which then does hit the general public.
Ecology, which oversees the Climate Commitment Act, formed a work group last May to tackle the problems. After several meetings, they published this report in October, writing, by the time the work group began in June, a few fuel suppliers and distributors had stopped imposing these surcharges. Over the following 3 months, that number increased substantially. But for Bauman, issues remain. He hopes to one day recoup the added fuel costs he was supposed to be exempt from.
Are the farmers going to receive an interest payment on the money that is rightfully theirs from the government? Chances are probably not, but that would make it right.
Ultimately, voters in Washington will likely decide the future of the Climate Commitment Act. The Secretary of State announced that an initiative to repeal the act has collected enough signatures. It's now expected to appear on the November ballot. Meanwhile, natural gas is the primary source of heating for many homes here in the inland Northwest. So when one KREM 2 viewer heard that Washington wanted to ban it, she reached out to the Verify team to get the facts.
I heard that the natural gas was banned or outlawed in Washington state, and it was an email from my mom yesterday. I thought, that's crazy talk. That can't be. That's ludicrous.
Like many people in the inland Northwest, Mia Markham McCoy relies on natural gas to heat her home.
And then I thought, well, outlawed, does that mean they would just turn the switch off and we'd be out? And it's like, no, they would help us to transition to something else before they just turned it off, right?
Looking for answers, Mia reached out to our Verify team.
Is it true that natural gas is banned in Washington state?
Let's verify. Our sources are House Bill 1589 and Avista. The bill in Olympia would ban natural gas, but only for new customers and in specific areas. It reads in part, no large gas company that serves more than 500,000 retail natural gas customers in the state of Washington may furnish or supply gas service to any commercial or residential location that did not receive gas service or did not file applications for gas service as of June 30th, 2023. There is currently only one utility in the state that serves 500,000 customers, and that is Puget Sound Energy, based in western Washington. Avista, which is the largest utility in eastern Washington, confirmed this part of the bill would not impact their customers directly. The company's vice president of energy delivery said in a statement, Avista's interest in the bill is driven by our belief that it is essential to balance stewardship of the environment with affordability and reliability of energy delivery for customers. This legislation is primarily focused on Puget Sound Energy. It may set a course for Puget Sound Energy to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in a way that works for that company as an electric and natural gas utility. However, if it were used as a template business model, it would be inappropriate if applied to Avista in the future. So we can verify no, natural gas is not banned in Washington. However, a bill does seek to block future customers in some parts of western Washington.
All right, still to come, what are your odds of winning a $1 billion lottery jackpot?
It doesn't matter if it's $20 million or $1 billion.
Coming up next, we take that question and more to the experts to find out. Over the past couple of years, the Mega Millions jackpot has climbed close to $1 billion or even exceeded that. And several viewers reached out to our Verify team with questions about the odds. So before buying a ticket, here's what you need to know.
Some viewers want to know, do the odds of winning Mega Millions change depending on how many tickets are sold or how long it's been since a winner? Let's verify. Our sources are Mega Millions and Joshua Johnston, the director of Washington's lottery. According to Mega Millions, the odds of winning the jackpot are about 1 in 302.6 million. Since the numbers never change, those odds remain the same, regardless of how many tickets are sold or the size of the jackpot.
No, the odds do not change depending on the amount of tickets sold. It doesn't matter if it's $20 million or $1 billion, the odds are the same.
But what if no one has won in a long time? Do the odds of someone winning a jackpot improve?
Well, the odds of the jackpot getting hit do increase because we are seeing a lot more people play. So the more people that play, the more combinations that are being used, and therefore the likelihood of it getting hit does go up.
So more tickets sold means it's more likely there will be a winner, but what can you do to improve your odds?
If somebody is looking for a way to improve their chances of winning, that is by, purchasing more tickets. You have just a greater opportunity.
But beware, while buying more tickets with different combinations will improve your odds, winning remains a huge long shot. Here are just a few things more likely to happen than winning the jackpot. They include getting struck by lightning, attacked by a shark, or becoming president of the United States.
One more tip: regardless of whether you pick your own numbers or let the computer do it, your odds of winning remain the same. And to watch any of our exclusive Verify reports and so much more content, be sure to head over to our streaming platform, KREM 2 Plus. It is free to download on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. And if there is any question you'd like verified, you can email our team at verify@krem.com. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us for this KREM 2 Verify special. Have a great rest of your day.